Welcome back, everybody. It's Charlie Fink with Forbes.com here on the floor of CES 2018 in the South Hall Views Camera booth with Bob Fine of VR Voice, and to my right, Xavier Abadi,
correct,
who is the Chief International Development Officer for SimforHealth. SimforHealth was yesterday featured at the HTC demo room,
exactly.
which Bob and I visited. So it was very timely because it provided us some great context. But congratulations on creating what has to be the only surgical training available to laymen. So if you've ever fantasized about dissecting one of your friends, here's your opportunity.
Exactly. To become a surgeon.
Exactly, surgeon. A virtual surgeon.
Yeah, in a snap.
Surgeon for a day.
Surgeon for a day, exactly, in a snap.
And do no harm.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much for having me here today.
Sure, it's our pleasure. So, is SimforHealth exhibiting, or are you just sort of meeting with people? I know HTC obviously is featuring you, which is great. So, are you mainly operating out of there? Help us understand what you're doing here at the conference.
Well, it's been a great honor for us this year to be hosted at the HTC booth. Obviously, HTC being leader in virtual reality. So for us, it's very important to be one of the very important aspect that HTC wants to promote using VR, I would say, contents, not just for gaming, which is very nice. And we've seen also with the HTC very, very nice and entertainment, sorry. But here, what we're providing, and I think what did appeal a little bit to HTC was the fact that we're providing with very accurate medical contents to train healthcare professionals. And in this case, what we've been showing for the last 2 days and a half here in Vegas is a demo that has been made from a case that we've realized with Stanford Medical. And the very particularity this year is that we have a dual player mode. That means that you can have two people here, obviously for the sake of the demonstration, they're in the same room, but one could be in Boston, the other one could be in Bordeaux or in Vegas or elsewhere in Sydney. And one is playing the role of the teacher, the surgeon teacher, and the other one is the students. So the surgeon is teaching his students how to do the procedure. In that particular case, it's all the procedure prior to the insertion of a stents.
So can you see it developing into more of a massive multiplayer so that you could do the equivalent of like a medical school amphitheater where a surgeon is operating, or even a student, and then there's an audience for what they're doing? So that would be real medical education as opposed to stimulated. Is that where we're going, you think?
I think this is part of where we're going, definitely. The new features of the HTC that have been displayed this year do allow us to have a larger room and multiplayer setups. So for us, it's even better because we can, for example, create scenarios where we'd have some doctors, we would have some nurses, we would have some people in an OR, for example, and everybody would have to react over the patients.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I think what is very important about what we do is we provide training content for medical education, but it's always at the end for the patient's sake and the patient safety at the end. Right. The better the professionals are trained, the better patients are cared for. So this is very important to us.
Yeah, doctors should not be training on patients.
The ethical concept behind that is never the first time with the patients. And the analogy that we do use a lot is that when a pilot would board a plane, he would have had hours of flight simulators prior to getting into his Boeing or Airbus.
Yeah, why don't surgeons have that?
Exactly, why don't surgeons have that? And we've talked to many, many different doctors, and especially the young ones, but also the elder ones, do tell us, like the first time that I had to do a lumbar puncture of a patient, I was scared to death.
Well, I think that is sort of a well-known in the medical industry is this concept of a medical resident benefit.
Exactly.
So here's an indigent person who needs an appendectomy. You've seen a couple of appendectomies. Good luck.
Yeah, there you go.
And I would be terrified. I think that's a good thing. It shows they have respect for the difficulty of what they have to do.
Exactly, definitely. And the VR here is getting us a lot of help because VR is very good for all procedure things. When you have to learn the procedures. In our case here, we teach students not to look at their hands while they're inserting like needles and introducers and guides.
They have to look at the
into
monitors,
They
right?
have to look at the monitors. They have to look at the echograph, because what they have to see is not what's outside of the patient, but what's
Right.
inside,
Yeah.
into the anatomical structures of the patient. So they have to see where the needle is pointing in. They have to see that the needle goes through very close to the nerve to do the anesthesia and things like that. So the first thing that you would normally do is watch your hands, because you want to be very accurate, but you have to keep to lose this habit, and then you have to learn to see elsewhere and to look elsewhere.
So is it difficult to get hospitals and doctors to start seeing the value of this?
It is. We are in a phase of evangelization of our future users. It's some hospitals, some countries are are early adopters, and they want to go there, and they already have seen the benefits of what they could get from VR. I must say, like, for example, what we've done in France last year is we've set up a program that we call the Tour de France, where we had a pharmacist that would go to universities, to faculties, medical faculties, to just to show future doctors, but also the faculty, the dean, what we were doing, and what could be the future of medical education.
So there's a multi-year, multi-iteration sales process.
Yes, but although it's going fast, and even faster than sometimes we do also believe ourselves, and the very nice things that we can count on is that I think that the thing is that we have on one side the IT technology progress and the VR that is coming better and better, for example, and all different medias that we also use that are becoming incredibly easy to use, cheaper than they were even some month ago, if you talk about headset, for example, but also the progresses of medical techniques by themselves. If you talk about mini-invasive surgery, if you talk about those new concepts, then you have a merge of what is moving very fast in the medical world and what is moving very fast into the IT world. And I think that somehow SimforHealth is at the middle of these two very strong streams.
How big is SimforHealth? You guys are a startup, or?
Well, we are a little more than a startup. We are now 50. It's not huge, but still.
I'm sorry, how many?
50 person, primarily based in Bordeaux. We have an office in Paris and also a subsidiary in Montreal. And we've opened last year an office in Boston.
And is the office in Boston primarily trying to sell into the medical community?
Yes, definitely.
And so, do you have to find people who are used to doing medical sales and dealing with hospitals and doctors and drug companies?
Definitely, this is very important to us. I think that's, if you, as in all markets, I mean, if you want to enter a market, you have to understand that the people that you have in front of you. The DNA of SimforHealth is relying on three main group of people. Of course, we have engineers that are able to code and do the software by themselves. And you've seen yesterday the kind of accuracy and realization that we can do that is,
yes.
I think, quite nice. And it has been, HEC is quite happy with what we've done, and they're happy to display it on their booth. We also have doctors, physicians, pharmacists in-house that help us, of course, understand the needs and the way our customers, final customers, talk. And we also have pedagogical engineers. The whole thing is we're talking about training. So we have to, from a need that is given by university hospital, a simulation center, we have to be able to understand that need, to transform it into a scenario that could be played either into VR or using laptops or iPads like the ones that I have here.
So if I can chime in, so I think, let's have a different opinion.
No, please.
No, I was asking if you have a different opinion on what I'm about to say. But it would seem to me, I think healthcare is probably the largest vertical industry for VR investment right now.
There's so much trade that can be done with training simulation.
There's a lot of companies. There's also VR. There's applied VR. There's surgical theater.
Right.
There's Ravenex.
Yep.
So and SimforHealth among others. So it's becoming crowded.
Yep.
How do you guys perceive your value difference between your competitors right now? And maybe it's if it is competitive, maybe it's really not yet.
Well, yeah, of course, it's competitors, and I guess that's each and every market. It's on its own competition, and if you find a market without any competition, it's either not a market or family. I would be very interested in to go
No,
into it.
people fish where the fish are.
Exactly. But I think that the main difference and what will be our value market here is that all of this relies on a platform called MedicActive, and our platform is a SaaS-based platform that will enable people to create, host, and distribute their kits. So, being a doctor, and for example, this simulation that you've seen yesterday is available on MedicActive. That means that wherever I am worldwide, I can log in, get my credentials, get on the platform with an ID, a password, and if I am a student in an hospital in China, which we actually have, or in Helsinki, or elsewhere in Boston, or Vegas, or elsewhere in Bordeaux, in France, I can log in, get all the cases that I'm interested in, and then download them. And now, as I was saying a few minutes ago, with the fact that all these headsets and things are much less expensive than they were even a few months ago, people can start having them at home or in their simulation center or in their university, and then the overall cost of the training is lowering. So it's also a very good deal for universities and simulation centers, because at some point it saves them. The cost saving effects are very important. So our main advantage here would be that platform, definitely.
So we have an interesting question from online from our friend in Northern Virginia, Sherry, who's very interested in ER and senior care aging.
Yes.
Hi, Sherry.
How many
Sherry.
hospitals are your clients? I think she means in France.
Mm-hmm.
And does the French government recognize VR for what we in the U.S. call insurance reimbursements?
Well, that's a good question, but that's the patient standpoint of the question. We are on before that. Actually, we train healthcare professionals, so we don't provide solutions that will go into the hospitals that would be bought by the hospitals. For example, for patients' sake or everything, we're before that, so we don't really have this kind of problem. But in terms of hospitals, the numbers are growing each and every day. I was mentioning like China a few minutes ago. We've opened a distribution center in China, and we have already 4 hospitals that have signed up to train their students with our solutions.
And do you have a sales team in China as well?
No, not yet. We have a distributor there that is helping us with their market. It's a very specific market, of course. But we have sales team obviously in France,
Is the surgical simulation the core of SimforHealth, or do you guys have other products that you're working
we do have other products that mainly runs on tablets and laptops. The difference would be that more than procedure, we would train, for example, on a medical diagnosis. We train doctors to have virtual patient in front of them, understand what brings the patient in, what he has, go through all the process of the exam, and then understand what's the problem, what's the problem of the patient, and how to cure it. So then it's more medical thinking, it's more diagnostic thinking. So we train a lot of doctors in using these tools. So then it will be 3D real-time simulators.
Xavier, what's your background?
Well, I'm the business guy. So I'm a business school guy, but I've been working in the health industry for the last 25 years. So I guess that gives me a little varnish to understand the whole operations behind it. And I've been working with doctors and hospitals for the last 20 years. So
is it training or educational or?
Well, a lot into sales, into medical device sales, for example, and general management of small medical device companies. But I'm also very much into education. It's something that is very important to me, and I have different activities than one that I'm here for that relates directly to education, so higher education. So it's something that really for me is important to mix this kind of personal interest into education and training and the VR and IT things that we're doing with SimforHealth.
This was a great conversation. Thank you for coming by the booth.
Thank you for having me.
I proved yesterday that I should not be operating on anybody anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
But I do.
How's that?
What?
How'd you prove that?
I proved that by following the instructions of the doctor extremely poorly. But it's great that HTC has singled you guys out.
Yeah.
And It sounds like we may be seeing you in Boston at the health conference.
I would love that. That would be great.
It would be great to
Yeah.
see you there again and to try it again. And I wish you much success.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much, Charlie.
Thank
It's been
you.
a pleasure.
Xavier Abadi from SimforHealth. This is CES 2018. We'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you.